Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Real Heroes Show. You got Cory and Nick with you as always. And guys, the day is here. We've made it. It's Loki premiere day. Episode 1, Glorious Purpose, has dropped on Disney Plus. We're very, very, very excited to talk about it. Major league spoilers here, so if you haven't seen the episode yet, it's only one. Go back and watch it, catch it up on Disney Plus, and then come back here and see us and dive into all these nerdy details. Nick, how you feeling today, man? Happy?
I'm feeling a little mischievous.
Mischievous, I like it.
Yeah,
it's good.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah, so we haven't spoken about this yet. We wanted to go into it blind in regards to each other's opinions. So let me have it, man. What were your first thoughts after watching this first episode?
I think the early level of hype and excitement, curiosity, speculation has been met.
Yeah.
I know in our little preview video that we talked about, I mentioned something about Infinity Stones. I didn't expect to see them in the first episode. Yes. The funny thing was, I just about that snippet, and Casey was like, "Oh yeah, the guys around here use them as paperweights." And there's like a bunch of them and of the same color. You see 2 soul stones in there. I thought that was a little bit of an Easter egg, like to the fact that we've lost Gamora and
and Black Widow.
Hey, okay. I don't know if that was intentional, but I'd like to think there was a little bit of an Easter egg. But there's a lot of time and reality gems in there.
There was a lot of stuff in there too.
But yeah, that drawer.
The second time I watched the episode, I froze the frame and tried to zoom in on my iPad.
Same.
There's a French Medal of Honor in there.
Yes.
There's a rosary. There's a $5,000 poker chip.
Yep.
All the way down on the bottom, there is a Honus Wagner baseball card, which I googled it before this recording, and the last real Honus Wagner card that was sold in October of last year for $3.25 million. And it's just chilling out That's underneath ridiculous. 5 Infinity Stones in this first episode of Loki.
Yeah,
so good.
I also noticed the watch, and I was trying to zoom in on the watch and what it looked like, because the face of the watch almost looked a little Doctor Strange-ish.
I thought so too. Yeah, he has a collection of watches in his first movie.
So I thought that might have been an ode to that. And of course, we know how the show and that movie is deeply connected. But the significance of the Tesseract being there, and then when Loki has that quick realization of they don't mean anything here. They don't work. The funny thing would be I thought about, what if Thanos was actually there, and he was like, all the gems, right? I have all the stones here.
He'd be powerless.
He'd be like, that's great. What's your cute little gauntlet doing?
Yeah.
Nothing.
Mobius would just be like, take a seat, sir.
Yeah. He'd be like, that's cute. Is that real gold?
Yeah, exactly. Where'd you get that made, man?
Yeah.
Not Nidavellir, was it?
Yeah, right.
Peter Dinklage made it for you? That's awesome.
Did a dwarf make that for you, perhaps?
Oh, man. It's so good.
Yeah.
Casey was hilarious.
Yes.
He was like, I'm going to gut you like a fish. What's a fish?
What's a fish? Yeah, I'm like, that's a very, very valid question.
Right. It makes you think, because these TVA beings, we don't know if they're humans or not. They look like humans, but we don't really know for sure if that's what they are, because they were created by the Timekeepers to work at the TVA. That's the only experience and purpose they've had in their entire lives. Casey literally said, I was born to live behind a desk. And that's it. And Mobius is the same way. His whole job is at the TVA, and he gets, luckily for him, he gets to bounce through some timelines and go through those little time portals that they've got set up. But other than that, his whole thing is fixing these problems, and it's basically like a 9-to-5 job for him. He's just very not interested by everything. Loki goes off on his little Shakespearean rants about how he's ascending to the throne and he's on his way to getting everything he wants, and Mobius is like, yeah, because that's the proper flow of time. That's the way it's supposed to be. That's the way it's gonna be, and that's the way it always will be.
Always will be, right?
And it was really cool to see Loki try to come to terms with the fact that, you know, at least as of this first episode, he is not in control of his own destiny in any way, shape, or form. And it's revealed that he's meant to be the guy that fails and loses so that others can realize the glory that they're meant to reach, which is very interesting. And Tom Hiddleston crushed it when he started having that realization.
I think the beginning bromance between Tom Hiddleston and Owen Wilson, very well established. Owen Wilson surprised me a lot in this episode. I thought his acting was great. Did a really great job. And it was really interesting to see how he was like, I'm a fan of you, Loki, like knowing where his correct timeline venture ends. And, you know, when they're in that room, and I was always wondering, and I was hoping within this episode, if Loki would actually see this, you know, this film strip play out. And of course he goes in those little ventures, right? And then when he gets in the room and sees the stones and the Tesseract, and it hits him like the TVA is is formidable. And it's
which
like,
earlier in the episode he calls it a circus, he calls it an illusion, he says this is absurd, but then by the end of the episode he's like, all right, these guys have their shit together.
He's like, maybe this is the biggest power in the universe. And when he goes back to that room and it continues, and he's like fast forwarding a bit, but he gets to these moments, you know, with Thor Ragnarok, and of course, you know, seeing even before that, seeing again his mother die, with Frigga die, and then Odin, you know, and so he's seeing these painful moments that he's never experienced. And again, kudos to Tom Hiddleston's acting, because you could see his emotion in his face, in his eyes, and then to the point where, you know, it gets to Infinity War, and it's like he you could see his reaction as soon as he sees Thanos. He's like, what? He knows because it's like, wait, I was sent to Earth with the Chitauri because of Thanos. Right? And then so there's this huge gap in time that he just doesn't know about until now. And then when he sees his very being get crushed, and just his own bones cracking, like, and just again the emotion that he conveys with that, seeing himself die,
and then he starts laughing.
The door opens and he starts laughing. Like, I was like, he's gone mad.
It's almost like one of the the stages of grief type thing. Where, you know, if you don't want to accept it, then you're hurt by it, and then everything's a joke and all that. And he goes through a lot of that very quickly over the course of one episode. And I thought all of that, and the writing is very, very sharp. Like, I feel like they wrote all the Loki stuff clearly, obviously, like for Tom Hiddleston's strengths, but then they also wrote all of Mobius's stuff as if Owen Wilson was going to play the character from the downbeat, and all that stuff was dynamite between the two of them. We have to talk about the little cartoon thing with Miss Minutes that describes what the TVA is and why they're so important, because they reference a giant multiversal war that happened in the past. And that the TVA was established by the Timekeepers to make sure that doesn't happen again. That's it, right? That's the Secret Wars. That's the Easter egg, right? It's clear as day.
It has to be, because if there can only be one, otherwise the universes collide, and at that point you've got people mixed and matched all over the place. It's like saying if this Loki ends up in the Endgame timeline where Loki's dead. So and I think the whole premise of and again, I wasn't too sure if we would see the whole premise of this show, at least what we're led to believe now,
right?
Is that Loki is here because he's thought to be maybe the anti-hero of the TVA to stop himself, or a variant of himself. So we have a variant trying to stop a variant of Loki. And I thought that was pretty interesting. So I'm like, well, how did that other Loki skip the timeline?
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see how that all pans out. But during that cartoon, they describe Nexus events, which this is now the second time the word Nexus has popped up. It was in that little commercial in WandaVision.
Yep.
Because in the comics, the Scarlet Witch is a Nexus being, right?
Yep.
Now they're also talking about Nexus events. And a Nexus event could be something as ridiculous as Loki grabbing the Tesseract and bouncing through space and time to Mumbai.
Right.
Or it could be something as simple as a random person being late for work, which I thought was great. But it's like that one little thing is what pushes the boulder down the mountain, and it just kind of keeps picking up speed after that. And the TVA in that cartoon they say the word Nexus, they say the word madness, and they say the word multiverse all during that. And it's just like, okay, so we're planting the seeds for something in this show to go completely catastrophically wrong that will tie into Doctor Strange too. Because now you've got the connection to Wanda, you've got multiverse stuff, all that groundwork laid in like a minute and a half in a 4x3 cartoon on a Disney Plus show. I thought that was awesome. Also, Miss Minutes is voiced by Tara Strong, who is the voice of Harley Quinn in all the animated Batman stuff, which I thought was really cool. When I saw her name in the credits, I was like, nice, that's I
noticed that too.
A good one. Yeah, man, all that stuff. There's so much to get into and talk about. I don't even know where to.
Yeah, I thought the whole
next.
I'd say even for the sake of, and was it 19? Or sorry, not 19. Like 15, the 1500s.
You're talking about the final scene of the episode?
No, when they go to France.
Oh, okay. So at the beginning,
at the beginning, and with the kid. And you see the devil on the stained glass.
Why do they do this? Why do they do this to us?
Listen. I swear, if people start saying it's Mephisto, just stop. Stop. It's not Mephisto. Don't start that speculation crap now. Like, it's like, tell us it's Mephisto without telling us it's Mephisto. No, none of that. None of that. Take that, crumble it up, throw it out, because listen, this has nothing to do with Mephisto here. Yeah. At least not yet.
And it might someday.
It might, because
I don't think it is now.
Unless it's one of the greatest secrets kept by Kevin Feige in the MCU here. No one's been cast to voice Mephisto or portray Mephisto. With mocap, nothing. I tried to do some digging around that. I couldn't see anything. I haven't seen anyone else find anything. So I think it's safe to say that we don't have to include Mephisto. And I think it's just this religious foretelling from 1500s France.
Yeah.
And again, maybe I think if there was any sort of signifying between the devil and being Loki, because Loki has horns.
He's got horns, got a mischief, all that.
Exactly. And I think it's in the final scene when they're like, oh, there's oil here, and then there's this shadowy, mysterious figure who drops the lantern, and then poof, fire.
Yeah.
Hell, like the. Maybe. And again, like it's a bit of a stretch even to kind of throw that around, but I still thought it was kind of cool, and
it was very cool.
This talk about being able to scan things for auras, and like going to when Loki gets to the when it first gets to the TVA, and the one dude's like, oh, this is just scanning your temporal aura. And I paused it. I'm like, because what do you see? And you kind of see his figure, but it also looks red. There's like a shade of red on there too.
Yeah.
So I wonder if we're gonna see or learn more a little bit about that. I think some of the gadgetry that they use, like the little,
they're fun.
Pocket, gadgets that show the timeline, and it shows like the lines going up, and there's like a red line threshold that it's like if it gets to that, does that cause the timelines to start interfering with each other,
right?
And basically saying like shit's about to hit the fan if we stay here too long,
right? Like I feel like the Minutemen, I guess it's the hunters that they're talking about, their job is to get there and put those little reset charges down before that branch gets to red. Right. I think if that branch gets to red, then it's like the timeline, it gets taken over by that. Yeah. Which seems pretty cool, man. They laid down a lot of foundation for this.
They did.
It's only 6 episodes, so they kind of had to in the first one, or else they'd be explaining things in episode 3 and 4, and that really wouldn't make a lot of sense. So.
Yeah, I think one of the good things about this episode is that we got a lot of reveals in the first episode, so it's not like thinking, well, yeah, like it's episode 3 and we still don't know what's going on, really.
Right.
Like, because at that point it would be a bad story and people wouldn't really care a lot about it. But I think where the episode ends and that reset charge is just sitting there, and then of course the figure picks it up. We'll see how that gets used. I want to talk about early speculations or early theories that I might have.
We could do another video for that.
But I think one of the biggest questions is which Loki will succeed.
That is the question, because like obviously that cloaked hooded figure, the show wants you to think that that's the other Loki variant that our Loki and Mobius are going to be after, but we don't know that for a fact. Could be somebody else, could be something else. The kid in France, his teeth and tongue were blue.
Yes,
which
they were.
Like, I know that he pulled out the stick of gum or whatever, but Loki was blue when he was a baby because his parents are actually frost giants, and it just made me think like maybe that's Kid Loki, and because there are rumors that Kid Loki and Lady Loki and Old Man Loki are going to show up in this show.
Right.
It could have been something staring us right in the face, but
sure.
Couple other quick things. As Mobius and Loki are walking down the hallway, he says he's going to burn the whole place down to the ground. Mobius says, great, why don't you start with my desk? And then Loki says, this place is a nightmare. And Mobius says, oh no, that's a whole other department, and I'd help you burn that one to the ground.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty interesting.
Rumor that Nightmare is one of the villains in Doctor Strange 2. I mean, I don't want to stretch too far here, but maybe the dream dimension is something that the TVA has a connection to.
Right.
Who knows? So that's cool. We got the DB Cooper thing from the trailers in this very first episode, and everybody on the internet was like, oh my god, he's gonna travel through time and alter things, and the DB Cooper thing is one of them. It's big time fake out. He lost a bet to Thor and Heimdall back in the day.
Just kidding. and I listen, like I know speculations and guesstimations are heavily done on trailers before a show or a movie happens. And again, we've said this before after our many incorrect theories from WandaVision.
Oh yeah.
You can't make accurate assumptions about the MCU. You just can't, because I'm not saying you shouldn't, because there is some fun in it, but like you just said, everyone's talking about, oh, Loki's going to be jumping through time and blah 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 blah. To a degree, he is, but because it's only going to be because of Mobius and the TVA, because they're using him to fix something. This Loki's purpose is now to fix the real purpose of the one true timeline.
Right.
But he's not going to be going around as DB Cooper in these other imaginary or not like situations. It's just, again, like we might see that as a scene in the trailer to kind of throw us off.
Yep.
Or because the producers don't want us to see other important scenes, so they think, yeah, we can throw that in there. That's fine, yep. Right? Like, and, it's not too revealing.
A lot of the trailer stuff was in this episode.
Yes.
Which is great. We talk about that a lot, but like if you're somebody who watches trailers like we do, because we want to get excited and talk about it on the internet, I don't want stuff from the last episode of the show to be in the trailer. You know, like there should be a rule where third act stuff is not allowed to be in trailers.
Could you imagine if this is gonna be switching IPs here, but could you imagine if this was a trailer? We saw a trailer for Empire Strikes Back, and in the trailer we fucking see Darth Vader go, "No, I'm your father."
Right.
Like who in their right mind would want to see that shit in a trailer? You wouldn't. Right. It's like saying like you find out what what happens to Loki and the TVA and the timelines and the multiverse in the trailer. No, you don't. Like, and if you do, well, the hell I don't know. Like,
I can't help you.
Yeah, I don't know about that. Like, that's a different topic for another time. But but yeah, like I a lot of shows that we've been covering and talking about, these trailers are showing things that happen early on in the season, the first half of the season, or the first episode in this case. So again, I'm completely fine with that.
Me too.
Because I like going into shows or episodes not having the groundwork laid out before me. Yep. And I know a lot of people like to see what happens in the next week's preview.
At this point, I'm over that too.
Yeah. Like, I know that was a lot like in the whole Game of Thrones thing, and stuff that HBO does that. But in this case, I'm completely fine with not knowing and just kind of coming up with our own thoughts.
And this series is actually different from the last two Marvel ones, even in that regard, because we knew that WandaVision, the whole plan was to get Wanda to be the Scarlet Witch, because Feige got on stage and he said that.
Right.
We knew that Falcon and Winter Soldier was a vehicle to get Sam Wilson to become Captain America, because they set it up in Endgame and there was really no other direction it can go.
Right.
With this show, I have absolutely no idea where they're going, what the point is. I mean, I'm assuming multiverse setup, but other than that, like, that's a pretty broad stroke, Yeah. Could be anything. It could be something that by the end of it is self-contained and doesn't really connect, or it could literally smash the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe into a million pieces and Doctor Strange has to clean it up.
Yeah. So, here's a puzzle. Loki just threw the puzzle all over the place, and Doctor Strange has to reassemble the puzzle so it looks like it does in the top of the box.
It's kind of like when Loki threw the chair and it hit the screen in this episode, and the screen looked like it shattered but then got back together.
Yeah.
That's what Doctor Strange is going to have to do, probably.
Yeah, I think the only thing we like I said, that we know is this sets up Doctor Strange 2 madness, the multiverse of madness.
Yep.
Again, those words that we got in the episode, Easter egg setups.
All on purpose.
Yeah, intentional, because, and again, we talked about this in the last video, pre Loki, the continuity here. And having the same writer write this show and write the Doctor Strange 2 movie, this is what makes cinema work. And having something like this be canon and have a good story. Having a plan, yes. DC, Warner Brothers, take fucking notes. Holy crap.
Take notes.
Lucasfilm, yes.
Have a plan.
Have a plan. I mean, Dave Filoni aside and John Favreau aside, but have a plan.
I don't think we're gonna have to worry about that anymore.
Yeah, but like it's we can see more of this phase unraveling, and as we see more of it, it's getting more hype. It's getting more exciting to see things really just come into reality. Another little reality gem pun there, but
dude, this episode ended and I immediately was like, all right, I'm ready for the next one. Like, is it next Wednesday yet? Bring it on. Like, which I think that's the sign of good television, is when it wasn't necessarily a cliffhanger to a degree, but by the time it was over, it was like, okay, I'm invested in this environment. I'm invested in these characters. I want to know where this story's going. I wish I had one of those little time twister things and could just shoot myself to next Wednesday to find out what's going to happen. So I would say out of a 10, I'm going to give this one an 8 because I don't want to give it too high of a score because I'm hoping that the next 5 just crescendo straight up. How about you?
Yeah, I was going to say somewhere between an 8, 8.5, but after thinking about it a little bit more, prior to us, recording this video, 8 is a very solid and admirable score, I think, for this episode, for this first episode. And again, having an 8 for your first episode really sets the pace. It sets the tone, and I want to believe that these next 5 episodes again are just going to have a crescendo.
Yep, I think they will. I watched an interview with Hiddleston yesterday with somebody from the press, and they said which ones what are the episodes that you can't wait for people to see? And he was like 4 into 5, the end of 4 and the beginning of 5. And I was like, all right, hey, that's perfect. Like just keep cranking it up as the episodes go by. So cool. Well, let's take this one home, guys. If you've watched this episode of Loki, we would love to hear your thoughts. If you're as excited as we are, please drop us a comment below and let us know. If you'd like to help support the channel, like this video. If you've got room in your subscriber bank for one more channel, go ahead and click that subscribe button for us and turn on those notifications so that way you don't miss any future videos from us. And until next time, we'll see you guys in the next video.